let's take a break for a little bit from Trump's trade war madness, sending the economy into a tailspin, and talk about madness of a different kind. One of his favorite congresspeople, Lauren Boebert, did a teletown hall because Republicans have been getting brutally protest. So many of them are saying, let's not go where they can, actually just walk in and express how angry they are with us. Instead, let's do a teletown hall. We can kind of vet people before they come to talk to the congressperson. And that's what Boebert did. And a constituent confronted her on Republican calls for the postal service, USPS, to be dismantled, something they wanted for a long time, and privatized. This would be terrible for people because the service that the postal service serves is to make sure that people can get mail affordably. And for-profit entities that would be the alternative don't have that same dedication. And so especially for voters like the ones that Boebert represents in rural areas, the privatizing of the postal service could mean things like medication that get delivered to people would become nearly impossible for a lot of folks, which could be terrible. But before showing you this, and Lauren Boebert just giving a stunning implosion of an answer, here's some context. CNN reports President Donald Trump is once again talking about privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. It's an idea that has employees and major users of the mail very nervous at a time when the use of first-class letters continues to slide due to emails, online bill paying, and other electronic communications. The USPS would seem to be less important than ever, but it's actually as important as ever, crucial for delivery of prescription drugs, mail-in election ballots, and online purchases. And privatizing it could mean the end of guaranteed mail service to every American address, leaving many rural customers without the deliveries they have come to depend on. Exactly right. So here's a constituent confronting Boebert about this, and listen to her answer.
Woman, Mary, you're up.
Hi, my name is Mary, and I am a small business owner in Strasburg, Colorado, and we depend heavily on the post office for our business. And I understand that there's efforts being made to privatize the post office. The post office is in the Constitution as a service to the people, and if the post office is privatized, I'm sure that rates will increase and it will be less accessible. What are you doing to save the post office for us small town business owners?
Okay. The question is, because you're going to forget what the question was when she starts talking. The question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to protect the Postal Service? What are you going to do to protect this? All right, so keep that in mind. Click the subscribe button. That's important. And let's keep going.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, thank you so much for investing in your community. I love Strasburg. I have a funny little story about Strasburg. When I was 9 years old, we went on a little school trip to a student's house that had moved there, and it was kind of our first trip like out in the country. And we came from Aurora and went out there. And I kind of got separated from our group, and I thought that there were two dogs that I had approached and was petting. And then the rest of my group came up behind me, and they were like, Lauren, stay away, like stay still and like come here. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, they were coyotes. Crazy story, but that's my Strasburg memory as a childhood.
As a childhood, I really loved. All right. Ms. Boebert, what are you going to do to protect the Postal Service? Oh, that's so funny. You said Strasburg. When I was a kid, I don't know if you know this story, Jade, my family went down there to go bunny hunting. We just like to get them young. And I got separated from my family, and I saw a bear. And I thought, it'd be so cool to befriend a bear. Then it could be my Care Bear. And so I ran towards it. We made eye contact, and sort of we could hear each other's thoughts. Both of us saying, I'm like you, no need to be afraid. So I introduced myself to the bear. I said, I'm Lauren. I like shooting guns. I like shooting animals with those guns, but I'm not going to shoot you. But that is why we're here, but I'm not going to shoot you. And then the bear slowly approached me, and it was sort of magical. And then it bit off my leg. So that sucked, but that's my little Strasburg anecdote. Sorry, man, what was the question? So an interesting way to sort of start an answer, but she doesn't get more clear. Let's listen to the rest of the answer.
Anyway, I do appreciate your question about the United States Postal Service. I work on these issues all the time with the post office. I hope you heard my passion in creating unique zip codes so we can have that sales tax revenue. We can have identity returned to so many areas like Centennial, Colorado, and Lone Tree and Highlands Ranch and Sterling Ranch and Severance, Colorado.
So now she's just naming parts of Colorado.
And so many other places. This is something that the letter carriers came to my office and discussed yesterday. We just had the Postmaster General DeJoy resign. And so I'm not sure exactly where the future of the post office is, but right now I'm working to make sure that it is efficient, that we're not wasting money, taxpayer money. There's a lot of waste that is involved in that system. And so it is constitutional. It is there. I've always supported to fund the Postal Service, but we want to make sure that we are using your tax dollars in a responsible way and eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse.
So what are you going to do to protect the Postal Service? Her answer is, I petted coyotes, and then just saying a bunch of stuff that's been going on. Oh, these people came to my office, DeJoy resigned, and then saying we're going to get waste, fraud, and abuse out, which is just their catch-all term every time they're targeting a program. The dismantling of it is justified because of the waste, fraud, and abuse that they keep failing to prove the extent that they claim. But she says, as if it's not public record, that she's always supportive of efforts to fund the Postal Service such that it won't become the punching bag and the next target of Republicans. But you can see here that the 2022, the last big bill on the Postal Service to keep it functioning properly for people that did include funding increases, Lauren Boebert voted nay. In other words, no. She voted against it. And so she doesn't always support. And this was a necessary bill to keep the Postal Service functioning and alive, which is why so many Republicans voted against it, because their ultimate goal there, like so many institutions, the Department of Education being the most recent one they're going after, is everything should be privatized. Maybe not everything, but a bunch of the services we rely on, that a necessary part of the service being what it is, with its problems, is that it's not a profit-driven endeavor. This is something that we have to contend with health services. Whenever you allow for every single aspect of our care to be profit driven, that can bring with it problems. Similarly, the Department of Education, if they do get their way, and ultimately it's a much more privatized system, that means what these steps end up doing is being totally fine for people who have money and hurting people who don't. And so, especially with the Postal Service, it's that still, but then an additional layer, which is crazy that Republicans lead the charge, which is that it would disproportionately benefit rural voters and rural citizens, because it's going to be them who private companies most of the time probably won't even bother going out to. It's just that's too obscure of a location, or it's going to be really, really expensive. Whereas because, as I said, the Postal Service is not seeking to make profit, it can provide that service because it is a service, as was referenced, that is in the Constitution. A basic part of making sure people have necessities is mail being able to get out to them. And then with the Department of Education, it's just such a twisted world we're in, where the people get convinced, the people who would be hurt the most by a policy get convinced to support it. What is that? Like, I get really rich people going, Trump says he's going to fund a whole bunch of money to me, so I'm going to vote for him. But all these people vote for the Trumps, for the Boeberts, etc. And on the Postal Service, on the Department of Education, and on so many other issues, it is they who will be most negatively impacted. The most subsidized states in education from the Department of Education are red states. And then rural voters would be hurt the most by this. So the reason, if you're wondering why she provided that anecdote and just kind of wandered her way through saying, we're gonna go make sure that people have things in this part of Colorado and that Colorado part and this other part of Colorado, and here's another name of a city in Colorado and another thing in Colorado, and then just started saying it's because she knows she does support what the constituent doesn't want and what most Americans don't want. And so this is just going to get worse. They're trying to just say, okay, maybe registered Republicans can come to these town halls. In some cases, that's their restriction. But if they keep doing the la 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 la, we don't hear you method, it's going to be disastrous for them politically. I hope that it will be, and hopefully we can mobilize people to manifest that. Share your thoughts in the comments, support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.